back to the show. My name's Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
Right, buddy.
And Neil.
Hello!
That's the excitement peaked for the week. Good week to spend an hour talking about the team we support, isn't it? An absolutely morale-sapping 4-1 defeat at Oxford. Like a not very good Oxford as well. It wasn't like if we'd have gone to Bolton and lost 4-1, I think a lot of people would have expected it, but I don't think anybody really thought we were going to get absolutely tanked to the extent that we did on Saturday. And boy, did we get tanked. And then strangely, I didn't think that last night was quite as bad as some people did, but we didn't turn up for 60 minutes at the very least.
That'll do it, won't it?
Well, yeah, that's, yeah. If I didn't turn up to work for 60% of my time, or 2/3 of the time, whatever it is, I don't care. Right, let's do moments of the week. Paul, do you want to start?
Yeah, in the 89th minute yesterday, after Bolton had fortunately cleared one off the line, we had a corner right in front of the massed ranks of Coventry City supporters. And you were like, swing it in, we're going to score from this corner. And Ruben Ramirez ran over to take it really eagerly, and Jody Jones was stood near him, but it's like, no, he won't pass to Jody Jones. He'll swing it in. And then for some inexplicable reason, Ruben Ramirez just twatted the ball at Jody Jones, who was about 3 foot away. And the ball hit Jody Jones and went out for their throw-in. It was incredibly shit. Not even
that
just
make the highlights.
No, it didn't. I mean, it's made I think when on my deathbed, when we were like, can you remember your life? It'd be like, I remember that Ruben Ramirez corner. It was just. And he'd had quite a good game, but that was baffling. Really, just swing the fucker in. Like, it's the 89th minute. Just swing it in. Just.
I feel like if Darius Henderson was at the Reebok last night, he would have saw 2 or 3 things where he'd have gone, well, at least that takes the heat off me for a bit. Because there was that corner routine where I'm thinking about it now. It actually causes me a little bit of pain in my arms just thinking about it. But as well, there was the Sordal shot that hit the moon and bounced back. And then Kyle Reid had another one that put a hole in like the sun. It was there were some really, really low quality moments in that game.
There's a Bolton fanzine site called the Lion of Vienna, which refers to obviously Nat Lofthouse, and they did some tweets during the game, and after in the second half, he just said Kyle Reid with another 3 points. He's third. No, sorry, with another conversion, he's third of the game. It's like, yep, that sums it up.
There you go. Neil, moment of the week.
Negativity klaxon, everybody. I don't like doing it, but it's bloody Mark Venus. He winded me up, something chronic, this man. I feel like he's more concerned with sort of being proved right or not being proved wrong. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but he just wants to slag off the team almost at every point and like just be as negative about our prospects as possible. And like, I'd much rather, especially how I'm feeling at the moment about the team, I'd much rather someone just tell them, okay, what you've done is not good enough, but not give them an excuse for it not being good enough. And that's all I feel like he's doing at the moment. Just sort of saying, it doesn't matter that it wasn't very good because this is the reason why it's not very good, so don't worry about it. And the whole thing about almost being scared to play Bolton last night and coming out and pretty much saying publicly, we don't really want to play him tonight, it was just baffling. I mean, we'd lost, really, a game? We'd lost a game. It wasn't great, but, out of last 6 or something, we'd lost 1. Settle down. I know it's not brilliant at the moment, but Christ almighty, at least come out with the illusion of that you've got a little bit of confidence in your player. Don't just completely shatter them and just give them a reason to believe, it doesn't matter if we lose anyway, because you've already said we're going to lose. Because that's all it does. I don't believe in reverse psychology or anything like that in football. I think you set your own mindset, and he's just doing typical Cov stuff all over again. And it seems to me, even when we were winning, he was doing the same thing. It's just he's setting himself to prepare for failure at every single point, even when he does well. he's trying to tell people, we're not going to win anymore. We won't win in the next couple of games. Like, what sort of maniac says that? Just bloody hell.
Don't you find him refreshingly honest?
No, I do not, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't need him to be honest. I don't need him to be honest about how shite we are sometimes. It's not his job to be honest with me. I'm well aware of what's going on the pitch sometimes. I need him to try and tell these players that what they're doing at the moment is unacceptable. Not tell them that it's acceptable because of just some of the players aren't quite right for the league. They can feel like they're right, at least.
No, I think it would be better if you didn't come out and just go, you know, they're young players, it's difficult for them. If you just come out and went, Daniel, that guy just doesn't try.
Yeah.
There's your honesty.
Yeah, that's
I'd much rather that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Kyle Reid, he has no own product. Just come out with it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Yesterday, Daniel, that guy was shit. Absolutely shit. And it was like, when he got taken off, there were some ironic cheers. I waved, because I thought that was only polite. And then he ambled off, and you were like, that he hasn't impacted on this game at all. And we need sort of, you know, Andre Wright apparently shushed the crowd on Saturday, and you're like, maybe you shouldn't be looking at the fans. Maybe you should be thinking, why are the fans giving me stick? Am I performing that well that I don't deserve it? Or maybe there's something about the way that I'm playing which is making the fans slightly agitated.
Yeah, well, I think hopefully, I mean, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed if Saturday didn't mark the end of Dre Wright's Coventry career, and that last night didn't mark the end of Dan Agyai's Coventry career. But
yeah, you were cross on Saturday, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Joe, I just have to interject here. You're going to be bitterly disappointed unless he really does like McBean, sort out suspended for Saturday.
I mean, Jack McBean, Fairy Tales Jack McBean, ran about quite a lot on when he came on last night, putting him immensely ahead of the other two. And he scored goals for the kids' teams, hasn't he?
Yeah,
I can't tell.
As long as it's not Ruben Ramirez as a number 9, I don't really care what we
Well,
do.
yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd go for McBean. The other two have just done nothing for me.
I will come back to them too, because in fact, no, I think I'll put it in now. I think you two would probably agree, and those of you that have listened to this for quite a while, I think I try as hard as possible to keep my powder dry and give people a chance and whatever. And I think I go on about, you need to give them 10 games, and I think I've been quite, especially with Dan Agyai, I've been like, I kind of see something there, and blah, 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 blah. I'm just done with him. Even I now, I'm just like, I never, ever want to see you in a Cov shirt ever again. He was just tragic last night.
There's only so many times you can put up with it, isn't it?
And you just think, either you have got some talent and you just can't be asked, which is just the worst thing in the world, or what I think is much more realistic is that there must have been something in the way that Bradford had set up that allowed him to get in around the side and whatever against them, that made him look, just for that one game, better than he actually was, because he's just been woeful ever since. And Andre Wright, bar maybe 10 minutes at the end of the Port Vale game, has just been crap in total. But his attitude on Saturday was absolutely despicable. And I think I'm the first one to castigate princessy fans for getting bothered about players' girlfriends. Get a grip of yourself. If you're bothered about that, get a hobby. But the Andre Wright's attitude on Saturday was just a piss poor. But that really should be the end of it now for them too. We've got so many attacking players at the club. Crap attacking players, admittedly. But they must, in my head, they're like the 7th or 8th attacking choice now. It's just absurd. But anyway, my moment of the week is, as well as the ludicrously poor play and commitment that we saw on Saturday, we were also dragged through this curious purgatory of these 2 incredibly long injuries that we had to endure. And the moment of the week, undoubtedly, was the board went up and the announcer announced that there would be 11 minutes of injury time. And I have never seen a mass exodus of fans to the extent of that. Pretty much, it looked to me, and I could easily be corrected on this, it looked to me like about half of the remaining fans were like, you could forget another 11 minutes of this. Just everyone straight down the tunnel was just like, I do not blame you 1 second. Yeah, so that was my moment of the week. I was at Oxford, so I'm going to talk about that. I think enough has probably been said about how poor it was. I'm going to play devil's advocate to an extent. I still think that Fleetwood away earlier in the season was worse. I think against Oxford, there was a 5-minute period at the end of the second half where we all of a sudden it clicked, and it was only 5 minutes, but it was threatening, and they looked like there might be an actual goal scored, and we did actually score a goal in it. And whilst we were, horrendously bad, I can't remember feeling as bleak as I did against Fleetwood. I'm sure that against Fleetwood earlier in the season, we didn't register a shot on target, or maybe not even a shot.
Sounds right.
And it was bad. They were a terrible, terrible team. Oxford looked okay-ish at parts, but Fleetwood were much, much worse. And I think people that were saying that it was the worst they've ever seen, I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it did seem a little reactionary to me. I think there's games that we have lost this season to a lesser margin that have been worse, notably that Fleetwood one. What I think is pertinent, and maybe this is what people mean, and I completely agree, is it just seems like yet another rock bottom, doesn't it? That you would be this team that last season was top this time last year, losing 4-1 against a team that they've beat recently, Oxford, that have come up from League Two. They sold their best players in the summer, and I don't think replaced them to the same extent. Well, they certainly sold. I know they kept Chris Maguire, but they sold Kemar Roof and the other fella. And you just think, and I guess maybe it's a case that people look at it and just think, where does it stop? But let me try and analyse some of the game. There is really very little analysis to give. We were just abject, just completely off the pace. The most notable thing, I would say, was I saw some people on Twitter saying that it seemed like it was a tactical fuck-up and one or two other things, and I can see where people are coming from. And I'm at danger of sounding like a stuck record here, but I've never seen why is everyone so fucking hyperbolic and rhetorical? I've never seen this was a really, really gutless performance. It was just an absolutely heartless, spineless performance. And if you look at the goals back again, that all of them just look like, with even a modicum of desire to get to the ball first or to put their neck on the line, there was a chance that they could have been kept out. And that just constantly, chief offenders, Vigramana, who we've been very, very kind to here this season because of how brilliant he's been, oh my God. When he's good, he's very, very good. And when he's bad, he's horrid. And he was in horrid form on Saturday.
God.
He was tragic. I guess it's partly down to the way that he plays. That he's so high energy and he's so inelegant, I suppose. He's not a ball retention player. He's very much a dynamo. That if it's working, he's dangerous and threatening. And if it's not, he just runs around like a lunatic giving the ball away. And it was
he needs to learn to change his mind. That's what I found with him. It's kind of, he'll make a decision to do something, and then he will do that thing.
Off,
regardless of how anything changes around him, he will do it. So if he's going for a slide tackle, even if the player passes the ball on, they score a goal, he will still continue to make that tackle. And it is him all over, isn't it? And it's the same goes for these passes that go astray. It's like he looks up, sees the player, goes to pass the ball. Regardless of, that player's now marked, he will still play that pass. And he somehow needs to adjust his mindset, while he's doing things, because that's football, isn't it? You have to adapt and adjust and make decisions on a split-second basis, and he doesn't do it.
And I find him to be really, really useful against possession teams that look to put three in midfield, because his legs and his energy and his terrierness means that he's got players to close down. He's got players that want to have 1 second on the ball before recycling it and moving it on. And in a game where Oxford just bypassed the midfield, he's kind of chasing shadows, and he's got too much ground to cover between trying to get the defenders and trying to support the attack. He was interesting last night without wanting to encroach too much on Paul. When Lemiras came on and had Jones with him, they attacked the left down. They attacked their right hand side really heavily, and it drew space to bring Biggie into. And he's really nice to see playing on the edge of the area. He had a really good shot from outside the edge of the area last night. But that's, I think, a lot of it is how the game is Biggie interacts with the game, and I'm not sure he is the perfect man for every situation. But against Port Vale, he was magnificent. Against Oxford, he was, really, really noticeably bad. Andre Wright played up front with I can barely even remember now. Sordal through the middle and Lemiras, I think. Andre Wright is the one that sticks out particularly because he had the audacity to shush a baying crowd at 3-0 down after about 40 minutes. You do wonder what sort of sense of entitlement you must have to shush the people that are paying you wages because you've performed so... I mean, in his case, just not only underperformed, but just not giving a shit. Just absolutely not giving a shit. There's no... Me and Paul were talking last night about Aguiar. Not a hint of movement from Andre Wright on Saturday, and not a hint of movement from Dan Aguiar on Tuesday. You just think, what is the point? But he is... I mean... I've no desire to see any more of him at all, as I've already said. Sordal came into the game in the second half. I guess with him, what becomes apparent is that you can't fault his effort. And I think it's a bit of a shame for him sometimes because we're too quick to shove him out wide and sacrifice him. Whereas it really feels like we should be just putting him through the middle now and saying to him, "You're the guy," and we just work around that. From there, Stevenson came off at half-time to change the formation to this very narrow sort of 3-4-3, similar-ish to what Chelsea are playing, I gather, but that with Carl Reid in the Hazard role.
Or is that a Hazard plays the Carl Reid role?
I think that's how Conte sees it, yeah. It didn't work on Saturday. It didn't work yesterday. I'm glad that it changed in the sort of last half an hour Tuesday. I would be very surprised to see it tried again against MK Dons on Saturday. The back four were the same back four that's been playing for the last 10 games or so. I just don't understand Lewis Page. I really don't. Jordan Turnbull is just... there must be something there, mustn't it? But I just don't see it at all. And Jordan Willis just seems to be going backwards a bit. The only thing I would say for those players is, me and Paul talked about this last night again, was when Vince Lowe came in last season, his presence seemed to dynamically cause a huge shift in the team. Someone that had that physical bite and ability in that way. He brought out the best in Jim O'Brien's aggression. God, how do we... I mean, this is pure... I'm going to put some sad music on in the background while I'm talking about it. But they had that bit of bite about them that gave us a bit of something going into games. And I do wonder with players like Turnbull and Willis and others like that maybe if you just had two nutters in the team, maybe they would show their ability there. But this is again me going back to being sort of quite optimistic and hopeful for the players, because Jordan Turnbull for me at the moment, performance wise, is on the Danny Seaborn level of bad. Just I doesn't seem to be a challenge for the ball in the air. I don't see anything. I don't see.
Did he perform when we were winning? Sorry to interrupt. When we were doing well? Was he playing well?
I'd kind of pass that to Paul.
There was a stat going around that we have the most shots against us per goal. It was like teams have to have 25 shots against us to score. And it's like, well, does that say that our defence are playing well, that they're not scoring that many goals? Or does it mean the opposing teams are playing against are just shit and can't score? And you look at the teams we played and the teams we beat, I'm going to go with the latter. I haven't seen Jordan Turnbull have if he's had a good game, it's been a 7 at most. I've never seen him absolutely dominate his player he's played against. I just think we went for a spell where, and to be perfectly honest, Lee Burgess seems to be playing like unbelievably well at the moment. So if the defence are letting us down, Burgess saving them, which again he did yesterday. I don't think Turnbull's had. If he's had a good game, he's been a 7. Most of his games I've seen have been 6 or lower.
Do you think that stat represents sort of an either or do you think it's an and? So we're shit, they're shit. So we're letting them have loads of shots and they can't take any of those chances. It feels like that when I watch the games. That's what it feels like to me.
I've seen some of the worst misses I've ever seen this season. Some just diabolically bad, and from inside, sort of only 8 yards out at most. Like if Bolton have had, again it goes back to if Bolton have had Adam Armstrong, they would have been 4 or 5-0 up because they missed some chances, and they were mainly down to the fact we just don't deal with the ball. If you've seen the goal from yesterday, which we'll get on to, it's like that. And the goals we considered on Saturday, none of them were particularly well-built goals. They were just balls into the box where we either lost 50-50s or we just didn't deal with it because we can't read the flight of the ball. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent now. If you look at the Jordan Turnbull signing, I think he was Swindon's Player of the Year 2 years ago when he was only 20, or he was 19-20 during that season. And you look at it from a purely sort of financial decision, bringing Jordan Turnbull in seemed like a wise decision in August, from a purely pedigree point of view. But you've got to ask, why was he so much better at Swindon than he clearly has been since he joined? Is it because at Swindon he had, as Joey said, the nutter alongside him, so his role was different? Or is it just the fact that he's just not that good? And at Swindon, he was in a better team, so his deficiencies weren't as worked upon by the opposition. It's difficult to say because we've only really seen him play for Cov. But again, what I've seen, I'm really surprised that. I mean, he's lucky, isn't he? We can't drop him because there's no one else.
But there's an awful lot of things that it could be, couldn't it? So I think we've seen in the past how players react dynamically to their partners. So we've seen players who look good and then a player is sold and then they're a sort of a partner is sold and then they look shite and vice versa. You also wonder whether a 21-year-old lad, whether going from Southampton to playing in Swindon, maybe that feels like it's closer to home and that Cov is a lot further away and that he's settling in the area. There's all sorts of different things that it could be. But the problem is, in the meantime, he's playing terribly. And I guess there's the part of us as humans that kinds of wants to be sympathetic and blah, 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 blah. But we're a podcast that talks about performances on the pitch. And I don't want us to seem callous or cruel, or that we're quite clear a lot of the time that we want to separate sort of human from footballer. There's part of me that kind of don't care. He's just been crap. Like, really, really crap as far as I can tell.
Well, the other thing we've got to accept the fact that this is Jerry Sterry's first proper season in league football. This is Lewis Page's first proper season. Even Jordan Willis hasn't played that many games at centre-half. This is probably the longest run he's ever had at centre-half. And then in front of that, you've got Ben Stevenson making his first real season, and Biggie hasn't played much. That back, and then you've got Lee Burge behind them. So that back seven is very inexperienced, which is fine, and you can go, I'm going to give them the leeway because they're youngsters, isn't it? But it also becomes that personal pride thing of, okay, I'm going to win even if the people around me are going to play shit, I'm going to win every single one of my individual battles. And you look at it, and the goals we considered against Oxford, we lost at least one 50-50 battle, if not two, on every one of those goals.
All of them, yeah.
What about the opponent that's got exactly the same mindset? How's that work?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a bit like both armies going in for a war, going God's on my side. It's like at the end of the day, you're always going to have. But I watch it. I don't see someone who's willing to die for the cause. I watch someone who's only prepared to go so far, and then it's like I can step back. I've done as much as I can, Governor. Instead of going, okay, I don't think I've seen anyone walk off the pitch this season who I've just got gone, yeah, apart from maybe Lee Burge going, yes, he didn't deserve to be on the losing side, you didn't go, oh, that guy's absolutely sweated blood for this. You watch him and go, he's basically put in the performance he thinks he can get away with. And I said, you look at that back four, most of them have got no competition. Who are we going to bring in? We're going to bring in Kean Harris, who, best one in the world, looks sort of quality on the ball, but he's probably out of his, he isn't ready really for the demands of League One football. If we had a better centre-half, any other centre-half, Jordan Turnbull would have been dropped by now. And maybe that, is, as Joe was saying earlier, if you only went to work for 70% of the time, you'd be fired. If you went into work and only put in 50% of the effort, you'd quickly get replaced. Jordan Turnbull's got no one to replace him, so he doesn't try, it comes down to personal pride, doesn't it? And for me, he's letting himself down as much as he's letting us down, because at the end of the day, he's going to be a League Two footballer next season if he doesn't pull his finger out of his ass. At least people like Andre Wright and Danny Aggai are going back to Premier League clubs. But,
for first team action, no doubt.
Well, I've just looked at Andre Wright. I mean, last season he was loaned out to Kidderminster, where he scored twice or once in 12 games, and Tamworth United, where he scored 3 times in 22 games.
Jesus.
He's going to go, and he's going to go back to West Brom, and West Brom are going to go, yeah, and they're going to release him at the end,
Or
the
they'll
reality
play him,
for people like that.
Or they'll play him still ahead of Berahino.
But he's 20 this month. He's not, not 18, 19. He's getting to that point where he has to be demonstrating that he's got a career in the game, and you're not.
Well, he hasn't, has he?
Not showing it, are you?
No. I had some very final Oxford thoughts that I wanted to chuck in. I'll try and be quick. One is Ruben Lemiras. I kind of want to pass a couple of batons on to you, Paul, and this is one of them. We talked last week, I think, maybe, and maybe every week that we've been doing this season. If we're playing 4-3-3, you cannot put Ruben Lemiras as one of the wide players. He's not one of the wide players in a 4-3-3. He was awful on Saturday. I'm delighted to say that he came on yesterday in a midfield berth in that area and really shone. I mean, it's no secret that I love little Ruben Lemiras. He's one of my favourites. Not because I think he's the best player, but he's just so adorable, isn't he? He's running around like a little scamp. And he did come on yesterday and make a massive difference. But there can be no one who thinks that his natural place is the wide. It's just not. It just doesn't work. Then there's also the thing to pass on to Paul about Lee Burge, who on Saturday made some, and I don't use this word lightly, some astonishing saves that were actually only bettered by some of the ones that he made last night. He's an extraordinary shot stopper, as far as I'm concerned. I thought he was a good shot stopper when he was in before Reece Charles Cook took over. Since he's come back in, he's pulled off some absolutely wonderful saves. It's very odd having the two of them, because they're very, very different keepers. But I am a bit simple, or have simple tastes. And I think I would go for just a Kieran Westwood style, fuck it, I'm just going to stop it before it goes in, rather than, a Claudio Bravo, I'm just going to flap at it, but I can kick it. But I really rate both of them. I'm glad that I think it's one of the few things that we can be fortunate about at the moment, or feel glad about, is having two good keepers. So I'd like
there's a bloke.
Oh, yeah, go on.
There's a bloke who's he knows what happens if he plays badly.
Yeah.
Or at least he's got something to lose, because he's going to spend the next 9 months on the bench again if he doesn't play well. Whereas I think what Paul's already said, some of the others, it doesn't matter if they play badly, because they've either got a manager who's telling them that it's okay to be bad because we're just expecting it, or they've got no one else to come in and replace them. And it's this standard again, isn't it, where you've got a player there who's being forced to play at the peak of his game, but mainly by sort of the fact that no one around him is helping him out. But he actually got pressure to perform, and he knows that if he doesn't perform, he's not going to play any football for the next few months. And it makes a big difference. And it's a mindset thing, isn't it? And you look around the pitch, and the others, they won't have the same mindset, will they? Whereas last season, some of the other players, like Tudguy, could barely get on the pitch. When he did get on the pitch, for once in his life, he actually started doing some stuff, and he still couldn't get in the team.
Yeah.
It's a difference, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the very last thing I'll say, which I'm delighted to say has no bearing on the Bolton game, is Vladimir Gajev.
Oh.
Vladimir fucking Gajev. Not even recognisable as a footballer.
Hiding again?
With the others, so I take the three for me at the moment, it's Andre Wright, Daniel Aggai and Vladimir Gajev. With Turnbull, who I think I've probably been really harsh on so far, I can see where there might be like a thing and you go, oh right, okay, he needed this or whatever. No, not Gajev. I've argued that he might need to play number 10 or that he might need this. No, he's just crap. He's just a bad football player. And I don't know what happened. I don't know where everyone had this collective sort of psilocybin nightmare that he was a football player. But there just needs to be a naughty list at the moment of players that just need to get shot of. Because we've got a big squad of crap players. And I think just as important as in January looking at where we can add some steel to the team, I think it's really important to start booting some of these fucking no-marks out. But yeah, that's my 2 pence on Oxford. I've just dropped the mic. Paul, if you'd like to pick it up.
I'll walk on and pick it up and blow it off and pretend that you hadn't just... Gajev, obviously being absolutely shit, meant that we played 3-5-2 or 5-2-3, as it turned out to be against Bolton. And at some points, it was really strange. We were playing 7-2-1 when Sordell was playing right back, which was really bizarre. But 3-5-2 doesn't work. The most amazing thing is it took the Bolton fans 5-10 minutes to work out that their fullbacks were always free, and it took the Bolton players about 20 minutes. And you could tell that because they'd start knocking the ball to the left back, and there'd be a ripple of applause from the Bolton fans, which was quite nice. Bolton were the better team for the first 45 minutes. They went ahead because Jordan Turnbull Jordan Willis can't kick a ball with his left foot. After that, it was quite a nice finish from Zach Clough.
Yeah.
Other than that, Burge made 3 or 4 brilliant saves. One with his body from Medine, he was about 2 yards out, which is a bit like the old Man United keeper who went to West Brom, Thomas. Yeah, who made that save against Wigan because basically, A, Jason Roberts is shit, but B, he basically just threw himself in front of the ball and hoped the ball hit him. And that's all Burge did. He just threw himself where he thought the ball might go and it hit him in the chest. But you can't, that was a brilliant save because he threw himself in front of he anticipated where the ball was going to go. I mean, basically, he overdived it. He was expecting to go in the corner. He made another save where he watched the highlights back, and we watched it at the time. It's like Zach Clough puts this in the corner. Burge has got no chance, but he hit it like the right way for Burge. And again, and not only does he save it, that one he caught. And I think if he'd have dropped it, we'd have been in deep trouble. So
he caught an awful lot last night, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's just. I can't remember the last Cov player who went from being such a zero where no one rated him to the guy behind us going, no one look, we'll sell him in the summer. It was sort of, that's where he's come from. He's really, and I do believe part of it is competition. He knows if he fucks up again, he's going to be out the side again. But he really is showing the rest of the players that he's still only 22. He's still less than 50 games. He's an experienced kid, but he's showing what can be done if you just try and do your best and try and win all your individual battles. In front of that, the defence was the defence. It's pretty ropey. Keane Harris is really good with the ball. The other two aren't. Jordan Willis gets worse. Midfield, Biggie, I don't really like him playing that deep because I don't trust him, but Biggie and Stevenson were all right. Page and Sterry were them. And up front, Daniel Aggai stood there waiting for the ball to be given to him. And if he felt a bit of pressure, he went down, looked at the referee, whinged for a free kick. I some of this discussion was on Twitter. What I don't understand about Daniel Aggai, it happened in the first half where the ball went to him and he was almost thinking about what he was going to do with it before he did anything, and the defender just took the ball. And you just look and going, just control it. Just take the ball under control. Once it's under control, then think about what you're going to do. But stop trying to think you're Thierry Henry, who can take this bouncing ball in your stride and do something magnificent. You can't. And me and Joey have discussed this, and I'm not sure if we discussed it on the pod as well. I just get the feeling when he was 12, he was built like he was 14. When he was 14, he was built like he was 18. So he didn't have to learn how to play football. He was just the biggest, strongest kid, and it was like, give the ball to Aggai, he'll rip them apart. And now he's playing against men. It's like, give the ball to Aggai. Oh, he's got nothing about him. He's got, you know.
Yeah, he won't run for it or shoot when the opportunity arises or hold a player off or pass it ever.
Or run the channels or do any of the other donkey work.
No movement at all last night off the ball, was there?
No, it's just, I'm a big one. We've discussed this a lot. I'm a big one of, if you're having a bad game, do the basics right. Once the basics are right, no one can go, oh, you haven't skinned 10 players. People just go away going, oh, okay, at least when he was involved, he was adequate. He kept us. And it's like the ball goes to our guy, you know he's going to lose it. He's going to try something overly complicated. Or he's not, and it's not worth it. It's just not worth playing the ball to him because it doesn't benefit the team. Sordal was out on the right wing, which for me is the worst of his three positions. So, you know, it just wasn't. First half, Bolton were by far the better team, and they probably were in third gear. At half time, for the first 20 minutes of the second half, Bolton probably sunk into second gear, and they still probably should have got a second goal before. In the 65th minute, we made substitutions. We took off our guy. Everyone applauded. There was a Mexican wave. You know, people were cheering for miles. And who else did they take off? They took off someone else who was having a pretty... Oh, they took off Kieran Harris and went back to 4-3-3, which for me is our best formation, or 4-2-3-1. Whichever way you look at it, it's still... We look better when we have three people in midfield in some capacity. And he brought Jody Jones on the left wing, and he put Ruben Ramirez in the middle. And as we discuss ad infinitum, what Ruben Ramirez needs is at least one player around him who's moving. So if you put him on the right wing on his own, he's going to look shit. If you put him in the centre midfield with Jody Jones one side and Kyle Reid the other, he's going to look better. Because he just is. Because he's got players who are moving, which creates space for both him and the player. So him and Jody Jones started to actually make Bolton look a bit shit. We got on top. We had a couple of long-range shots. We had a couple of corners. We've sort of forced Bolton onto the back foot, and we're really playing well. But it was 25 minutes of playing well. And Bolton, by that point, had already got the lead and just sat there and, you know... We did miss some chances. There's no denying that, but we didn't miss. I mean, I could be really cruel here, Joey, but I can't remember us missing an absolute clear-cut chance.
Jordan Turnbull's header.
Oh, okay, yeah, from the corner which he headed against Jay Spearing, and he basically headed it wide.
Yeah, and the rest of the chances, you're right, were either long-range shots or Biggie had a good effort, but it wasn't a good chance, was it? It was something he completely carved out himself.
No. So we played well for 25 minutes, and that's meant to make me happy. And it's like, well, you can't play well for 25 minutes and expect to win. Bolton played well for 45 minutes, and they were probably the better team for the other 20 minutes as well. They were, overall, 65 minutes, Bolton were the better side. That's why they've walked away with the victory. If they'd have had a goal scorer, they would have punished us in the first half and would have been 3 or 4-0 down, like we were against Oxford. And that's the worry is we're not keeping clean sheets. That's our third league defeat on the bounce. And we're going into a period now in the next 6 games where, other than Milton Keynes Dons, the teams we're playing against are all above us and have, you know, ideas of getting in the playoffs and are looking to build up towards the Christmas period. we're sort of still treading water. I still don't think. I think Mark Venus does know what his best team is. I think he'd love Andy Rose or McGann to be fit, and the fact both of those are injured is hindering us because he doesn't trust Gadjev, but Gadjev has given no reason why you would trust him. So he's trying to find a formation. To some extent, it might be best just try and play Ruben Ramirez in midfield. But if you're going to do that, don't piss around with Andre Wright on the right wing or left wing or Aguilar on the wings. You might as well go with Jody Jones and Carl Reid and just sacrifice what they don't bring to hope what they do bring is enough to at least get a victory against Milton Keynes Dons, who are in complete free fall, and then hopefully that'll build confidence for the next couple of games. And when you go away to a place like Southend, just play a counter-attacking side with those, with Sordell and Reid and Jones. At least you've got pace to hit teams on the counter. So maybe just go a bit more defensive and just say, look, we're going to soak the pressure up from Southend and try and hit them on the counter.
What did you think about Bolton?
I thought in the first half of the game, we discussed this at the time, the first half was really easy. If their defenders had the ball, our guys sort of watched them with a bit of a, well, what are you doing there? When we had the ball, they put us under pressure and they made our life difficult. But as the game went on, they didn't seem to... They should have been out of sight, shouldn't they? They should have been 2 or 3-0 up.
Oh, God, yeah.
Basically. Yeah. And when we started to put pressure on them, they panicked and they didn't look... I mean, the defence looked pretty ropey. But it's always difficult when it's a one-off game because they look like the sort of side who are going to... They're going to do what we can't do at the moment. They're going to nick 1-0 victories or 2-0 victories because when they step it up, they've got the players to hurt teams, and they're quite organised, aren't they? Again, a bit like the Scunthorpe game. They weren't brilliant, but they were organised, and they definitely had players who knew what their jobs were. And when we were on top, I never really thought that Bolton panicked. So, their defenders weren't the best, but they were never... They never did stupid things like give us lots of free kicks in and around the box and things like that. They didn't fall into the stupidity things that we do. So it's always like basically Bolton are third in the table. The one-off game we had against them, they were the better team for 65 minutes. But there again, we're fifth from bottom. We're a shit football side. So I just lost interest in really what Bolton were doing. We'll worry about.
We weren't 2 weeks ago, though, were we? This is what I can't quite understand. 2 weeks ago, before we'd lost these 3 in a row, God, that horrible caveat, but we weren't. We were talking about having one of the best midfields in the league. Why is it suddenly so desperate again?
So I think because we've lost one of
one of the 3. Yeah,
we basically have a system where we're good. We play 4-3-3. We're good, and we have 3 centre midfielders who are good, and then we have Andy Rose who can come in and do a job, and then we have nothing else. Because that's the squad Mowbray left us with. He gave us a midfield of 5 players, and he was fucking fortunate that Ben Stevenson stepped it up, because otherwise we'd have a midfield of 4 players. So, because we had an incompetent cretin as a manager who completely imbalanced the squad by signing 50,000 strikers and not worrying about the rest of the team, we're left with a squad where if everyone was fit, we'd play 4-3-3 each week, and we'd probably go up the table. But because we can't, we're having to fuck around with 3-5-2 and all these other stupid formations to go with the fact that Gadget's gobshite and we don't have another way of playing.
You are the voice of reason.
What does that mean?
It means I completely agree with you, Paul. Everything you just said, annoyingly, that makes a lot of sense.
I think the team that was on before Jack McBean came on for Sordell last night should now be the team. And the only changes to it should be if Andy Rose is available or if Chris McCann's available. I think when Ramirez came on to play in that 3, I thought it was exciting and interesting, but that I think in the grand scheme of things, I think it would be good against MK Dons because it's a game that we're going to be on top on, hopefully. I think we've got a very difficult run of fixtures after it, and if it's a midfield of Lemiris, Bigaramana and Stevenson, I think that's quite lightweight against some better teams, but we'll wait and see how that goes on. But I think the crucial thing isn't necessarily in the midfield, where 2 out of those 3 slots are already completely beyond argument. It's what happens with the front 3. And it really, really, really shouldn't be a question anymore. I don't see how you can do anything but play Marvin Sordell through the middle, because he is unquestionably the best striker that you've got. He's arguably, in a squad that's got about 50 strikers, he's pretty much the only striker we've got, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of like a real option that you could choose.
Yep.
Because the others have just fallen so far down the pecking order. And his movement last night, when he moved inside, it was so noticeable that he was trying to actually, off the ball, he was trying something in a way that Aguiar didn't. And from there, I'm really tired of seeing square pegs in round holes. And Jody Jones and Kyle Reid, like them or otherwise, are 2 wide players. And it all just, it has to be that now. Because like Paul says, even if you did want to change it, it's not really the option to change it. So yeah,
we scored 16 goals, for God's sake. I mean, it's like second lowest scorers in the league by quite a long shot. It's just bollocks. We need to do something that's lively and attacking, not have 2 players who quite clearly don't give a shit. That's not going to help.
No.
And the worry is that Stevenson has kept this form up for quite a while. I know people said he was bloody awful against Oxford. Is if he just has the natural slump you expect him to have, then we're trebly screwed.
Or we sell him. Bear in mind it's nearly January.
Yeah. I mean, so basically between now and January the 2nd, when we play Bolton again, is we've got 2 home games, 4 away games, and our away form is just unbelievably shit. And the only other home game after Milton Keynes Dons is Sheffield United, who is it Chris Wilder's only lost 2 of his last 60 games or something? Ridiculous.
Good record.
And it's just, we're going into this spell now, and I still don't, I think we've just discussed what we think is the best team. I'm not sure Mark Venus really knows what his best team is. But, I don't know, it's just, last night, you walk away, and we've discussed this again in the past, it's like you walk away going, oh, it wasn't that bad. And it's like, well, after about 60 minutes, Joey made some comment about us all being stood there like miserable bastards. Because for 60 minutes, there was nothing to get excited about. There was nothing in our play which made you think, oh, in 5 minutes' time, we're suddenly going to be a decent team. And that's the problem. It's like we can play Ruben, Jody Jones and Carl Reid on Saturday, and they could have those games where they're just awful as well. I mean, that's the other problem. It's just they're not consistent. They're just so erratic that Ruben could just have one of those games where he's just not involved. The ball just bounces off him. The opposition outmuscle him. It's just, I mean, the advantage of from going what Mark Venus said before the Bolton game about, oh, this is the last game we want. Milton Keynes Dons couldn't be a better game for us on Saturday because they're absolutely shit and in complete disarray. But if we don't get anything out of that, you're wondering where the next victory is going to come from?
Whenever we play Bury, I reckon. Have you seen them? They've lost about 700 in a row. It's outrageous.
Yeah, because we're now virtually level on points with them, aren't we? And at one point we were like 15 points behind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was when they won every game in September. And then suddenly, at that point, all their fans thought, oh, this is it. And then they've just lost every single game since.
Well, didn't we won 11 of our first 18 league games last season. In the 46 games since, we've won 12.
Not very nice, is it?
These stats make me very sad. Right, shall we move on? Shall we finish this off? That's probably There's probably quite enough misery for 1 week. I actually want to quickly just go back to the comment that you said that I made yesterday about everybody standing and looking miserable. I actually meant that as quite a sort of sweet, almost like a compliment thing. There was a very strange absence of of women, females, girls, whatever you want to call it, last night. I thought it was a really odd gender split. It was just almost exclusively middle-aged men, but it was pin drop quiet for pretty much the full 90 minutes. And just everyone, because it was cold, it was like looking at a colour version of like a football from the 1950s or something. Just men in hats, silently miserable, watching a football match, not saying anything to each other, and then just sort of walking home on their own to sit and not talk to their wife either.
Sounds like a wonderful evening.
There was something oddly sort of like, I don't know, not nostalgic, but from a bygone era or something. It was quite strange.
If it had been someone outside, sort of doing the university sort of degree, and they were coming and they were asking everyone the question, "Why are you here?" Everyone would have just gone, "It's what I do," and walk off.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been, "Oh, I've come to watch us win," or "I'm coming to enjoy myself." It's like, why are you watching Coventry versus Bolton? It's just what I do.
Yeah, I
don't know. I do something else.
I don't know. I didn't really think about it until now.
A friend of mine who goes to lift, David, who I said would mention, he's a Bolton fan. He's my work colleague, and he said to me like middle afternoon, "Are you looking forward to tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I always look forward to it." He went, I said, "We're going to lose. I know we're going to lose, but doesn't mean I don't look forward to it." And then you're watching and you're going, "I've actually looked forward to this. Why the hell have I looked forward to this?" And then we lost, and it was a bit like Wigan at the end of last season. It was like, well, we're going to lose. It's just how many did we lose by? And it was quite surprising to see us trying not to lose. But
I know you're not really allowed to say this, but I did actually enjoy watching the game yesterday. I thought it was a really interesting, good game. I thought it was a fun game to watch. I know that we were bad for a long period of it, but I thought what was good as a sort of in theory neutral is I thought Bolton played really well for 40 minutes. I thought they were really good to watch, and actually they should have damaged us more, but for Burge and their own sort of profligacy. But then the tide turned, and it's interesting sometimes how a team fails to kill another team off, and then like fear creeps in, or they try and pull things back, and it's just the mentality of football is very interesting to watch sometimes, isn't it? I thought that was a particularly interesting bit of yesterday's game, albeit that the result didn't go the right way. But I actually did enjoy watching yesterday.
But that's a good message, isn't it? Sorry, Paul. You want to go on?
Oh, it's just a psychological point of view, because Phil Parkinson's come out and said that we were dominant in the first half, and the second half we just didn't come out with the same attitude. And you must, he obviously didn't go into half time and gone, "Oh, this is a shower of shit, hammer them now." The players en masse must have just sort of taken their foot off the pedal and just sort of come out with it. Because you could see, like, one of the first things David said was like, "Why do you think you were the better team after the 65th minute? I thought we got worse." And it was like, well, from a Coventry point of view, the reason I thought we got better after 65 minutes is because we took off Daniel Aggai, we changed our system, and we suddenly had players who wanted to ball at feet and wanted to move. But you could see it from a Bolton point of view. They'd been pretty average all second half up to that point, and then they didn't get any, to some extent they probably didn't get any worse after we got better. They were just already playing quite badly. It was just for the first 20 minutes of the second half, so were we. So you wonder sort of the mentality of that, of, oh, we're winning, why aren't we, why don't they just come out and just get, if they'd got a second goal, I doubt we'd have had that 25 minutes. I think we'd have just rolled over and died.
Yeah, everyone would have gone home, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Neil, what were you going to say?
I can't remember, Joey.
Oh, well.
Oh, I can, no. What is it? It's just around the message, really, isn't it? Because teams can play badly. Yeah, we were scared stiff, or some people were scared stiff of playing Bolton. It was all this, we're going to lose 5-0 sort of nonsense. But actually, when you look at the game, they're still capable of playing badly over quite a sustained period of time. What was it, 30 minutes in the second half? That's a long time to play not very well. And sometimes it's not even down to your doing. They can just, out of their own standards, let them drop, and then they start playing poorly. So it's kind of, the message for our players surely is, look at what you did in the final 25. Okay, it's only 25 minutes, but there's you playing better than the other team. It's not unfeasible that you can't do that another time. So it's entering games with the mindset that by default the other team is going to be miles better than us. We're not going to play very well. It doesn't work like that. Football isn't like that. And why we seem to think everything's so ingrained in stone when we start to play a match, they are going to be better than us because they're ahead of us in the table and stuff like that. I know previous form says, okay, you probably will play worse than them, but it's not always the case. So I get frustrated when it's kind of sort of deemed, yes, we are going to lose this game, and it's okay if you do lose because we were expecting it. Anything can happen in a football match, and they can play poorly, and we need to be ready to sort of up our game, because we showed it last night from the sounds of it. If we'd maybe had a little bit longer, we could have got something out of it.
I think it goes in this order. I think it is tactics and preparation I think it's mentality is absolutely paramount. Then I think it's tactics and preparation comes second, and then talent or sort of personnel can go in there. And I think the absolute obvious one is Burton Albion last season. Man for man, that is not a good team. That's not a group of players that are desirable. If you look at I talked about Oxford earlier, is they lost Kemar Roof because he was their obvious goal scoring, but Burton didn't have. I don't think Burton's top scorer scored more than 15 or so last season. But they were on the crest of a wave from going up. They had absolute ultimate belief that they were a good side. Exactly. They were rigorously prepared, and all of them were bought into what they were doing and didn't make any mistakes and were absolutely committed to the cause. Those things aren't unattainable goals. In fact, they are the things that you can do. They are the things that you've got the highest influence over. And I agree. I think sometimes we differ sometimes on the sort of psychology aspect. But the idea that you'd be saying, oh, well, Bolton are in third, it's just poppycock. It's fucking nonsense. It really, get your preparation right and get in there and just be like, look, you are not worse than these teams. You're just not.
They're not Barcelona. It's not like we're going to a match where we just will not be able to compete with them because of sheer brute force of talent. It's not that. It's League One. And what Paul said earlier made me cry a little bit when he was talking about Southend and going there and just sort of sitting back, and because of they're on a good run. I'll admit that, but it's still Southend. They've still got a minus goal difference. They could have a bad game. And also, what I will say is Josh Ruffles. Nobody would want Josh Ruffles back in our team. Yeah. And yet, he's playing for the opposite team, doing better than us. Mm. It's a player doing well in the system.
But it's also a case of, in the last, 24 away games now, we've won 4, drawn 6 and lost 14.
Wow.
And
not good enough.
And the reality in that time, I think 2 of the victories were against teams who got relegated last season. One of them was against Oldham, who finished about 19th, and the other one was the Port Vale result, which was, the one standout victory probably of this season. Just our away form is shit. Against other League One sides, we've beaten 4 of them in over what is categorised as a season, 23 away games. That's got to be down to something more than... what's that down to? Is that fear factor? We're going to places like Southend and, they thumped us last season at their place. So is it a fear factor? Is it the players just aren't mentally strong enough?
Combo, isn't it?
Yeah, or do we get the tactics wrong every single time? Like the other week, Charlton couldn't buy a victory and they hammered us 4-1. It's just, we're not a good side away from home. Why is that? But that isn't that's the stats over the last year. From as long as I can remember, I think Mark Robbins had a good away record. Other than that, our away records tend to be shit. And you just thought, well, why is that? Why are we so bad away from home? And that's like last season, it was our away form that you could argue didn't get us in the playoffs. This season,
eventually, yeah.
This season, it's basically how we finish the season will depend on our home form, as far as I can see. It's basically if we win enough games at home, we'll stay up because we can't rely on getting enough points away from home. We just, we scored 19 goals in that time. 5 of those were against Crewe. So that takes you to 14 goals in the 23, which is just about a goal, every 80 minutes? No, not 100 minutes. It's just it's not good enough. And that's 2 managers, hundreds of different players in that time. Last season, when we had really good players, we still couldn't win away from home unless we were playing teams who were shit, absolute shit. So why? You know,
but that's the crux, though, isn't it? That's the crux. It's not good enough. Not, oh, well, it doesn't matter because they're young, we haven't got the players. No, it's not good enough. Even with the players we have got, it's not good enough. And the moment people start to realise that, and the players start to realise that, because if you do a comparison between our squad and other squads in the league, and let's just take on face value, when you put name against name, our squad should be better. And you've got these players who have like ambitions of playing in the Premiership. So if they're going to come down to League One, they have to be a class above. And they're not playing to a class above at the moment. And it's just not good enough.
Sorry, I know. The thing is, it's like we watched Bolton yesterday. I knew about 3 of their players. I didn't know if they're central midfield. They had a guy with a ponytail, I think number 32. I obviously still don't know his fucking name. I don't know how good he was. I couldn't put the squad against any other squad and go, we're player for player better. I don't know 90% of the players you play against. I don't know if they're... I can look at the pedigree and say, well, we got this kid from loan from West Brom. They've got this. They signed that kid from Dagenham and Redbridge. Therefore, I will determine that because we got this guy from West Brom, he will be better.
Well, that's almost the point then, isn't it? That we don't know anybody. These players are all unknown. So what? None of them have got the pedigree to suggest that they. So why can't they perform? I think why have we, out of some divine sort of annoyance, have we got all the shit ones? Every single one of them is shit. Why? How's that happen?
Again, that's
every season. It's not just that, is it? It's not just, every season one season, we're getting bad players. Because last season, we had, okay, I'm going to say it again, we had better players, surely. And they still, for the second half of the season, didn't perform. So they have better players. You've seen Jacob Murphy turn it up again this season. So it's like, they're just not performing well enough, as well as they should do. Not that, and that's the line, isn't it? They've got to perform better than they are.
I think you'll
anything less.
It'll come down to the same thing where you sit back, like we sit back now, nearly 10 years on from the team that Coleman had. And you were like, we knew at the time we had a good team. But most of those players, or at least half that team, have gone on to be, well, one of them's gone on to be England captain. I know we only ended up on loan for half a season, but you could tell at the time he was good. And you've got other players, like half that team have played over 50, 100 games in the Premier League. And you knew at the time that team was good. Now you look at it and go, Coleman wasted a fucking brilliant side. In 2 years' time, we'll look back on Mowbray with even more disdain than we do now, because you look back on it, that team with those players should have got promoted. There's no if, buts and maybes. He blew it.
I think you're doing my anger a disservice, Paul. I feel exactly like that right now. It doesn't take me 2 years to get there.
Yeah, but there's still people out there who, when Mowbray was going, he's the best manager in this division.
They're the problem too.
Yeah, sees who let him down. It's like, no, he let himself down. He, and I'm getting more and more, as it gets further away from Mowbray, I'm getting more and more angry. Not that I'm disappointed he's gone. I'm disappointed that he didn't stay around so he could be fired. Because, he was honourable that he left. No, he fucking made a massive mistake and then jumped to save his own reputation. Because if he was still here now, he probably still wouldn't have won. And people would have gone, right, he's been at Coventry 15 games and they still don't want a game this season. It's like Mowbray jumped so he could keep his reputation intact. That's why he jumped. He didn't jump for, I don't need the... It's like bollocks. You jumped because you knew you'd fucking dropped a massive clanger and you didn't want it to stain your reputation. That's why you got out when you did. And to say otherwise, it's just becoming more and more farcical, because you look at it and go, as I said earlier, he left us with 5 central midfielders. It's just like, who the fuck goes for half a season when you play 30, you got 23 league games, plus all the other crap that goes on. Even if you just get knocked out the first round, you've got to play 3 EFL games. You've got to play the other 2. So you're already up to 30 games before you've even sort of won one. So don't give me this shitty sort of, he's looking out for the best of the club. He looked out for the best. Fair play. That's what you do. You look out for the best of yourself. But the more it gets in, the more you're like, as the season goes on and you can't make signings, he got out to save his own skin because he knew that he had built a shit squad. And we're reaping that because we've still got 7 more games with this shit squad before, and that's not even including the 2 cup games. So we've got another 9 games. If something happens to, even not his biggest fan, if something happens to Jordan Turnbull or Jordan Willis, we're then down to sort of 2 centre halves. if something happens to Ben Stevenson, we're down to Biggie in central midfield. Like, Sordale's out on Saturday. We don't know who's going to play up front. It's either going to be the complete unknown chap, McBean, or it's going to be two players we clearly don't rate. Because there's he's got no one else apart from Tud Guy. It's just, the reality is, we were left with this absolute shit clown of a squad. And the manager who built that shit clown of a squad, a bit like David Cameron on the referendum, he's turned around and gone, ain't my problem anymore. I'm going to get paid lots of money to talk about how it's not my problem anymore. You're like,
you can reasonably say, from the players who are on the pitch, even last night, you go through each of those one by one, you should be able to expect a certain level of performance from them, either from how they've played in the past or where they aspire to be or where they currently are if they're Premiership low and all that sort of stuff. You should be able to expect more than what they're given, surely.
Oh, yeah.
Even Carl Reid destroys us every time he plays against us. He's a player with, that Carl Reid is brilliant. So we should expect the same level when he plays for us, surely.
But the thing is, if he was brilliant every week, he wouldn't be in League One. He's in League One because
he's brilliant enough.
Can you remember, George Boateng had a brilliant first season. In his second season, he was absolutely fucking garbage, apart from 2 games. One at Villa Park and the other at Anfield. In the summer, the only 2 clubs who tried to sign him were Liverpool and Villa, because they were the only 2 good games, like standout, brilliant games he had that season. And it's like, we're losing George Boateng. And it's like, he didn't play that well. He's going to Villa. That doesn't surprise me. Because that's the only team he played well against. It was like, that shit happens. And it's just like, I think Kyle Reid he blows hot and cold. That's why he's here. And he doesn't have an end product. We knew that when we signed him. We looked at his goals. We knew he didn't score. It's just, I think, it goes back, we discussed this a lot. You've got to accept the fact that all of our players have certain limitations. That's why they're in League One.
Like every other League One player.
Yeah, like every other League One player. So it's down to other aspects. And it's down to, as Joey said earlier, it's about having a couple of leaders in the team who set an example of, this is the level I expect, and you must keep to this level. I don't see anyone in the squad. I don't see a leader in the squad. So I don't see anyone going, we're not going to lose today. I'm going to fucking stamp on someone until we win. I see a bunch of players who will happily put in just about what's required of them and no more, because I don't see anyone going that little bit further. I see a group of players who all look, apart from Lewis Page, lovely guys who don't seem to have nastiness about them to actually sometimes win the battle before they win the game of football. So, the team, I don't see who's galvanising that team to really drive them forward. That's the other reason that the pre-match huddle gets on my nerves. It's like, it just looks shit because you come out and you play utter garbage football. If you came out and really, for the first 10 minutes, went into every tackle, flew in, it was like, look at this, we're going to fucking nail these bastards today. You'd be like, yeah, get in there. And you watch it and it's like, oh, you stood off them and they've passed it around you. Woo! I don't see the drive. I think, and that's, whether or not that comes from them, whether or not that comes from the manager, whether or not that comes from the fans at times, I don't know. I don't know why we continually buy shit players. I wish I could answer that one, Neil. I wish I could go, the reason these players are shit is because, I think...
The reason, not the excuse. There's no excuse for it. It's the reason why currently they're not doing it, but there's no excuse for them being as bad as they are. Because they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be, because they've shown that they don't have to be. I just look at just all the League One players. I just cannot see how we have to pull up with the same shoddy level. And we know it gets to that point, doesn't it, where everybody in the team plays poorly, and it just sustains it over the course of time. And it's mentality, it's expectation, it's all that sort of stuff again. And I don't want to go over it. It's just.
But the thing is, it's also how do you. We're lucky we have this way of expressing our anger and frustration. But there's it's always that thing about the fans. The fans shouldn't boo. They should be supporting the team. They should always support the team. And it's like, that's fine. But if you went to a theatre and the cast were all shit, you wouldn't clap them off at the end and go, "That was a brilliant play." I know that guy kept forgetting his lines, but God, he did try, didn't he?
If you go to Man United,
yeah,
they boo you. they boo you because they're a winning team. You don't do well, you get booed. It's football, it's pantomime, but it makes a statement. Don't go booing individuals because that's a different thing entirely. Someone walking off the pitch and you're booing them, that's a focusing in on someone's actual, all their sort of angst and anxieties. You're just going to exasperate it. Boo a team as a whole, it can have an impact. It sets a standard for what you expect from that team. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Joey, any other comments?
Shall we wrap this up? I think is probably the
don't let us talk.
The
it's
correct
not good for
thing
me.
to do. No, I mean it's interesting to listen to, but I think just looking at the time, it's probably best that we put a pin in this one. We can come back to it another day, I'm sure. Very, 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 very quickly, we have MK Dons on Saturday. We're in 20th position. They're in 21st position. Interestingly. Very quick pop quiz for the two of you. We talked about our home form and away form. Do you know how many teams have better home form than us at the moment?
I don't know.
8.
Yeah, in fact, most of them. It's actually 13. Yeah, we've only won 2 of our last 6 at home.
Right.
So actually,
I thought we had a better record. The problem is you go through it and we play like shitty cup games that don't really mean anything to anyone.
This is just league.
Make our stats look better.
This is just league.
Yeah, what I mean is if you go through the fixtures, you just look at
I see, yeah.
the wins and it's like, we've won. Oh, yeah, obviously we won at home. We don't win away from home.
Yeah.
Right, we've won 4 of our last 6 at home. But the reality is that they were against Morecambe and some other non-entity.
Yeah. MK Dons, interestingly, have pretty good away form. They are 6th in the Form League, which I know isn't a real league. They've won 2, drawn 2 of their last 6. So actually, they're not too bad on the road. Obviously, recently departed Carl Robinson. He's not dead.
Would you have him at Cov?
No.
Fair enough.
I just can't stand the bloke. It's just a knob. And as well, it's the fallacy of good managers sometimes, isn't it? Because I'm sure, I really don't think there's a good manager who's only ever managed one team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I think you can watch it. I think you can. Maybe he was just the right person for MK Dons at that time. I hope for his. In fact, I don't because I think he's a knobhead. But I'm sure for his family or whatever, it'd be great for him to go and do some good somewhere else, and that'd be great and a success. But I'll wait and see before I'd go clamouring for him. We've had flash in the pan one season. One team manager before. But they look all right away from home, which might be interesting. Dean Bowditch has got 7 goals. Kieran Agard has got 5. They've got a very big squad by the looks of it, which possibly what contributed to the overall downfall of Robinson. We don't do predictions, but I say we don't do every predictions every week, which is almost like what we used to do in doing predictions. So I think instead we'll just wrap it up. If you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, it's at Neelampty Show. Otherwise, on email, it's neelamptyshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll be back next week to talk about the MK Dons game. So thank you very much, Paul.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you, Neil.
Farewell.
And thank you for staying with us. Bye.